We are back on Morning Line. Thanks for joining us. Our guest is Metro Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. Always nice to have him on. Appreciate him taking your calls and comments. Listen, wanted to, you brought in the fact that there are some new special committees that are being set up. These have not been in place before, that council members have decided they want to add because they're issues that are important.
Yeah, I think the idea was that, okay, so we deal with these problems every term, and now we have new problems, whether it's increased crime or juvenile crime or affordable housing or gentrification or whatever. It's hard to get a handle on sometimes bigger issues. So you can talk about affordable housing, but the solution to affordable housing is affordable housing.
Right.
You got to do it. So these special committees there are 8 of them, so it's a new way of trying to look at something. It's pinpointing on a specific question, putting council members on it and citizens on it, and letting them have like 3.5 months, give them a certain amount of time, have them report back, and see if they can come up with solutions to a specific question.
Okay, so like for instance, sidewalks, which as you say here is a perpetual issue for Nashville, just where the sidewalks are going to go, upkeep and all this. So in the past, when we've talked about sidewalks, and lawmakers have, who has the list of current and future sidewalks? So yeah, I mean, that would be a nice list to have, pretty easy, Where are all the sidewalks and where do we need future ones? And what's it going to cost to build a linear foot of sidewalk in Nashville? Those are answers that we didn't really have in stone.
Well, so the cost of a sidewalk here in Nashville is very expensive. When you start comparing them to other peer cities, you've got people who say our cost is so much more.
How come?
So I don't know.
The congestion, or that you have to move things.
I think it may be the congestion. It's dealing with stormwater. It's dealing with easement location or whatever. But so one of our council members during the election said, it's a block of concrete. Why is it so much? Just put it there. We don't have a lot of sidewalks, or compared to other cities, we don't have as many as we should. So the idea is, let's figure out exactly what we're doing on this. The other thing that drives everybody, I think, crazy is that we want sidewalks. And we need sidewalks, particularly around schools. So if you're going to set priorities, make them so kids aren't walking on the street to go to schools. And if you got that covered, then figure out in the neighborhoods, how do you make them all start connecting? But I think in the end, I think we just want to know, okay, so what's next? So you tell people this is where the next sidewalk's going to go, and you know what? That's where the next sidewalk goes. It doesn't just disappear. We have a plan in place. That's what this is about. It's about figuring out, is it too much that we're charging? Or that it costs to build a sidewalk? If it is, what should we do about it? And then let's just make sure that it's a simplified process. It should not be this complicated.
Okay, and you said some citizens will be on these
citizens are going to be named in the next day or two.
Okay, and then they can get going on it. And then, like you said, maybe 2 or 3 months. And it's not just like sidewalks. It's also like enforcement of our code, council ordinances, current after-school opportunities for young people in Nashville. What should they be? Teachers, firefighters, and what they're being paid, and whether it's on par with other cities.
Look, teachers are mad at us. Firefighters, police are mad, and Metro employees are mad. What happened? And can we not get this thing straightened back up? So the idea is you put people on these committees, council members and citizens, you let them work through the issues. The reason it's 3.5 months is that we want them to finish January 31st of 2020.
Okay.
Why? Because that's when the budget discussions start in February. And so if they've got things that they need, if there are budgetary issues involved, at least they can get them in front of the mayor and the council. We can figure out if we can do it.
Some of these things you're not going to be able, it's nice of you to look into why Nashvillians are not voting and what can get citizens more engaged. Come on now. And there's a committee for that, but I don't know what the answer to that would be.
So it's not, we're not asking for world peace. We're trying to figure out what are the barriers to people voting. Are they not engaged?
Okay, maybe barriers, or they just don't care, they're apathetic.
Well, but this is, our country is based on these rights, and so we want people to vote. And if it's hard for people to get to the polling places, if they just don't know what's going on, if they don't know enough about the issues, this is important. This is so important. What's interesting with all the other issues, that committee is the one I've gotten the most feedback on.
Is that right?
In terms of citizens wanting to be on it. They are really, the people who are contacting me are troubled by the fact that we can't get people out to vote.
Let's take a call from Cindy. Cindy, good morning. Hi, Cindy.
Morning, Nick.
Hey, what's on your mind, Cindy?
Geez, I understand all the situations with the crime every day and stuff like that. Maybe, I know it seems bad, but I feel sorry for people that work at night. You get off work, you at least need a capable security guard, and you're going to have one of those police stun guns in your hand, as well as some mace. Just walk into your car, especially from downtown. I used to work downtown years ago, back in the late 70s and early 80s. And I tell you what, I've seen some crazies. So I said, no, I ain't working down here no more. So I started going outward. The more outward you go, okay, all of a sudden, here they are following you. You know what I'm saying? When you've already encountered problems, traffic lights are the worst situation. You got to make sure your doors are locked, your windows are up, and when they're coming toward you, and you know what's fixing to happen, because usually people will trap you in their cars. You know, you have one in front, one in the back, and one on the side, and you're like, oh God, I can't get out of that. How I did it was I slammed on the gas and kept going, and of course I get in trouble because I broke the guy's leg. But you know, the thing of it is, here you are, you're beating on my windows in my car, and I'm scared.
Well, sure. A lot of people are. You know, I mean, more people are driving now armed, okay? The problem is a lot of guns are getting stolen because they're not securing them in their vehicles when they leave them. And you just saw, just this past weekend, I mean, another one of these rideshare drivers. That's a dangerous gig. I'm sorry. You never know what kind of idiot you're picking up. And this woman was shot, okay, in an attempt. And she's the second one. There was another one last year. I remember interviewing him as well. Rideshare drivers, carjacking. So I hear kind of what she's saying there. And not as many people. Some people have no choice. Their jobs are downtown. You know,
I'm sitting here thinking through it. So, I mean, I understand what Cindy was talking about. You know, if you watch enough of the detective shows and the criminal shows at night, you know, you got to be careful. If you're driving around at night, you got to be aware of your circumstances. That's what I think Cindy was trying to do. She's watching for people. We don't want people to take the law into their own hands, you know, by just, you know, you've got to follow the laws, but you have to be careful. And I think the question is, how do we make it safer? You know, she was talking about the traffic lights, you know, synchronization of lights. You want people to be able to flow through, you know, just keep going down the street so you don't have as many places to stop, particularly at night.
Yeah. I don't know, because you think about put a police officer on each street corner, more officers. Because it's true, Jim, I don't know if you do this, but when I'm downtown sometimes at night, if I have to leave work late and it's dark and I'm just driving, and you know, our station's the only one that's downtown Nashville. You know, and in general, I feel safe, you know, walking to a Titans game. But after dark and I'm driving and I get to an intersection because of the light.
Yeah.
First of all, I make sure my doors are locked, and I'm aware. I'm not just looking ahead for the change. And it's a shame in a way. I mean, I'm looking at the area around me to see if I think there's anyone there that could be a potential threat. And I hate that I have to do that, but I do, and I just consider that being prudent.
I think that's the responsible thing to do. I think one of the things, as we grow bigger, particularly with so many people downtown, if you hang around downtown, there's good police presence, but obviously people start feeding off of Broadway, and the further they get off, the lack of people, you know, there's not a police officer at every street corner because we don't have that.
We don't have the resources.
We don't have the resources for that. You have to be aware. So I think what Cindy's bringing up is a very good point. I mean, I hate the fact that somebody was hurt in the incident, sounds like, but you have to be responsible, you have to be prudent, and you know, as the city keeps growing, as we have more resources or whatever, I think we have to continue to look at the safety of our residents, the safety of our citizens.
Do you think people are still moving downtown? They still, I mean, obviously that's a silly question with all the growth and everything, but at some point, you know, it goes in cycles. There was several years back, for you and I can remember, sort of a ghost town down here because they hadn't built anything to live down here. Now people are living, people are moving, they're spending all this money. It's always going to be a value with all of these condos that have been built. But at some point in the game, I think there are some, depending on the type of family, they're going to move away. There's going to be a flight from the downtown if some of these things aren't addressed.
Well, so, you know, what's interesting is it seems to go in cycles. You're just trying to figure out where the cycle is going to go. I remember, you know, 15, 20 years ago where you drive around downtown and it's like you know, after 5 o'clock, everybody goes home.
Yeah,
There's nothing going on downtown.
Me too.
Now everything is going on downtown, and people who are downtown want to get away from that.
I kind of miss the traffic that we didn't have back then. Literally, you could leave on a Friday night sometimes, unless there was something, maybe a concert. Really, remember? And just zip right through town. Now, on a Friday, you're finished. You better bypass it, or you're stuck in traffic with all the pedal things and all that out there. I mean,
this is making me more depressed all the time.
Sometimes you reminisce for the good old days. Look, in a lot of ways, the downtown's a lot better now, of course.
Well, that's true.
Let's go to James. James, good morning. Hi, James.
Hey, good morning.
Morning. What's on your mind?
Good morning, both y'all fellas. I got a traffic issue. Nashville is like about to pass Atlanta with the traffic. And I know more and more people's coming here every day, but if some kind of way we can inform the public that if you're not passing, move over. I mean, when you get two cars running down the interstate at 55 miles an hour, it creates a traffic jam. And simply by moving over, most of the time will free up traffic. But it's really getting ridiculous in Nashville because of this. And I think I don't know how to get the public aware of, if you're not passing, move over, it really lets the traffic move on. So it's really an issue, and I just wonder what we can do to help resolve this.
Yeah, I appreciate it. James made that same comment on the Facebook there. I was going to bring it up. Thanks for calling, James. I don't know. Yeah, the move overs, and then how do you enforce the HOV lanes, things like that on the interstates? Yeah. Again, it's like anything, the enforcement and the resources.
Well, you know, the interstate is outside the purview of the Metro Council, which is probably a good thing. You know, that's more of a state and federal issue. But I thought they had passed a law that said, look, if you're going to go slower, get in the right lane. Yeah. But I don't think anybody pays attention to that. I think what James is right, and you don't have enough enforcement out there on the highways. And how are you going to how are you going to enforce that? It's like you're not going fast enough, move over. And the HOV lanes, you know that people don't enforce that.
I think the technology is going to play a role in this one way or the other at some point. I mean, you hear more and more about being done with drones. And there's some controversy whether or not some communities don't mind red light cameras. Others have had them and gotten rid of them, you know, to catch someone going through. But can you imagine having the police department having a set of drones with just one person there in front of a bank of monitors? And when he sees an individual that's violating the law, catches that license plate, and you're going to get a citation in the mail. Now, a lot of people don't like that. It's Big Brother, and they caught me, and I don't like, you know, we're going to have to pick and choose what you like. But, I mean, technology can play a role in that.
Look, I agree. I mean, you start throwing all these different all this new technology out there, and you're trying to do all this, and then people don't like that either.
I know. Like, Mount Juliet had red light cameras for a while. Then they decided they didn't like it. They got rid of it.
Well, we can't solve this one either. There's another one that I can't figure out in terms of the move over, but we'll consider it.
How do you do that? Real quick. Tony, do you have a quick question or comment?
Yeah, good morning to you.
Sure.
Morning.
This is Tony. Now, Mr. Shulman, now you're supposed to be the liaison in this administration, but you keep overlooking the Bordeaux area, especially sidewalks, schools, and homes. Now, they building these new homes 2 stories, and the fire department's complaining about that. But nothing has been done for these outdated communities. It's outdated. Everything's been done, allocated downtown. That's why your mayor was predicted to be in the office.
Okay, we only have 2 minutes, Tony. That's a good comment. I mean, he feels areas like Bordeaux are being ignored, whereas obviously, and you probably hear that from a lot of outer-lying communities, but I think he has a point with Bordeaux.
So on the special committees, I've tried to make a special effort to, basically the citizen involvement are not going to be the same people that you always hear about. I have tried to bring in as many new people as possible in terms of a committee format. If this works, we'll do it again next year. But it's just citizens. It's not the same people who are doing the same things, or, you know, the same people who are on every board. These are just citizens who want to be involved. I was just checking my sidewalk committee, which is on that list. So the Bordeaux council member, Jonathan Hall, he asked to be on that. We put him on that. Okay. So, you know, again, Tony's right. I think Bordeaux in that area has long been ignored. Trying to do something about it.
Yeah, you just wonder too, as this thing gets more busy down here, areas like Bordeaux are the last frontier. If you want to get some nice property, nice place to live that's within easy commuting distance to the downtown, you know that's going to be, they're all going to be hot spots eventually. And whether or not the people there can still afford to live there, depending on how things change, I don't know. I want it to remain affordable housing.
I mean, I love Bordeaux, but we want to have some control over it. We don't want it overtaken so that
Exactly.
that changes too.
Jim, thank you.
You're welcome.
We
Always a
appreciate you
pleasure.
coming on. We'll see you again soon. Appreciate all the comments and all this. But
Sure.
If you don't mind, we'd love to have you on every couple of months or so.
Happy
if
to
that's
do
all right with you.
And comments were very good.
Yeah,
I've got
good
notes.
comments, good viewers. Listen, thank you, my friend.
Sure.
We'll
Sure
take a
thing.
break. When we come back, we have a special guest coming on. Did you know our local law enforcement, they're quite a talented bunch. They sing, they dance, and they have fundraisers. And
I
we've got a big
understand.
one coming up, so we'll be joined by someone there to tell us about that. Stay with us. We'll be right back after this. Thanks, Jim.